Chapter 11. A Calming Crystal. Bellador's eyes widened when he saw that Flu was in danger. To everyone's surprise, he acted fast to save the boy. He pushed his head through the rock wall and it crumbled. A crystal beam shot from his mouth, aimed at the ground. Where the beam hit, a smooth crystal path formed. It led from Bellador to Flu. Flu swiftly wheeled down the pathway, out of the way of the rolling rock. Bellador quickly moved toward him. Flu faced the dragon. "You saved me," he said. "You're the hero of your own story, Bellador. You can fight us and hurt us, or you can let us help you. You decide." Drake held his breath. Will Bellador get angry and attack again? He wondered. Bellador listened calmly as Worm relayed Flu's words. Soon, Drake heard Worm inside his head. "Bellador will listen to what Flu has to say." Drake announced the news. "This is great. Flu can talk to Bellador through me and Worm." "Griffith!" Rory cried suddenly. She rushed toward the cave. Griffith and Morgan walked out of the grotto. Drake blinked. "They're free?" "Roar!" Bellador roared at the wizards. "Everyone, get away from the crystal dragon," Griffith warned. "He is dangerous." "Our new friend Flu has a connection to him," Drake said. "We're working it out." Flu turned to Bellador. "You're safe. Please stay calm and tell me your story." Bellador's body flashed brightly. Flu took the light blue crystal from his pocket. "Flu said that crystal had a calming power," Drake remembered. Flu reached out and touched the crystal to the dragon's neck. "It's okay, Bellador," he said. "Nobody's going to hurt you." Bellador closed his eyes. Then Drake's dragonstone began to glow. "Bellador says the wizard in yellow is the one who tried to control him," Worm told Drake. "Bellador says that Morgan tried to control him with magic," Drake said. "Is that possible?" "That is not something Morgan would do. I would ask him," Griffith replied. "But my poor cousin has not spoken since we freed ourselves from those crystals." "How did you get out?" Rory asked Griffith. "Worm's powers loosened up the crystals enough for us to use magic," Griffith explained. "But our escape seems to have taken out a lot of Morgan." He turned to his cousin. "Are you feeling better?" A smile crept across Morgan's face. "Oh, I'm feeling just fine," he said. He pointed at Griffith. A jagged blast of red lightning shot from his fingertips and zapped Griffith in the chest. Griffith collapsed, and Rory caught him. She gently set him on the ground. Then Morgan reached into his pocket and pulled out a glittering red dragonstone. Chapter 12. Danger in Disguise. Drake gasped at the sight of the bright red stone. "I've seen a stone like that before," he cried. Rory had seen it too. "Maldred used one to control the Hydra. We need to destroy it." Morgan held out the red dragonstone. A beam of red light shot from it, aimed at Bellador. "Roar!" The crystal dragon roared as the stone's beam struck him in the forehead. Bellador's eyes glazed over red. "Excellent!" Morgan cried. "Now I finally control Bellador. The magic of the crystals is all mine. Wizards everywhere will pay me to get their hands on this magic. I will be rich and powerful beyond belief. Nobody could stop me." Behind Morgan, Rory tapped him on the shoulder. "Oh yeah?" she asked. "What?" Morgan spun around, startled. Grinning, Rory yanked the red dragonstone from his hands. "Drake, catch!" she yelled, tossing it to Drake. Drake caught the stone. Furious, Morgan pointed at Drake. Red energy sparked from his fingertips. Drake jumped out of the way of the magical blast. "Flu!" he cried. He tossed the stone to Flu. Then Drake landed on the ground just as Morgan's magical attack harmlessly passed over him. Flu caught the red dragonstone and tossed it to the ground in front of him. Then he ran over it with his wheelchair, crushing it under the metal wheels. The red faded from Bellador's eyes. "No!" Morgan cried. Meanwhile, Griffith had recovered from Morgan's magic blast. He jumped to his feet. Blue magic streamed from his fingertips, and a blue bubble of energy surrounded Morgan. "Griffith, are you going to send your cousin to Wizards Council prison?" Rory asked. "Wait," Flu pleaded. "None of this makes sense with the story. The Morgan you know would never do anything bad. Unless this wizard isn't Morgan." "Good thinking, my boy," Griffith said. The magic streaming from his fingertips began to sparkle. "Dissimulato paradis." The strange words boomed from the wizard. Inside the blue bubble, Morgan began to thrash. His white curly beard disappeared. His hair became red and wavy. His eyes changed from blue to green. His mustache became shorter. His body became longer and thinner. Everybody stared at the new wizard trapped inside the blue bubble. Griffith gasped. "Garrick!" he cried. Chapter 13. Garrick's Plan. "Garrick," Drake said, thinking. "Why do I know that name? Isn't he one of the wizards we found in the wall in Maldred's hideout?" asked Rory. Maldred, an evil wizard, had once trapped many wizards in a wall. With the help of a dragon master and his time dragon, all the wizards were freed. Some were good wizards, and others were known to be troublemakers. Griffith had made a list of the wizard who fled after being freed from the wall. Garrick was on that list. "Yes, it is I, Garrick," the wizard said with a cackle. "Before Maldred trapped me in that wall, I had stolen his instructions for making a red dragonstone." "Why did you come here, to the Crystal Cave?" Flu asked. "Nobody in Greenshire knows about Bellador. How did you know that a crystal dragon lived here?" "Not even the wizard who guards the cave knew about this dragon," Griffith added. "I have been obsessed with the cave since I learned about it in wizard school," Garrick replied. "I searched libraries around the world, seeking to learn how the crystal gets their magic. In a rare book, I read a legend about a crystal dragon that has lived here in secret for ages. I believed there was a link between the dragon and the magic of the crystals, so I made my plan." Drake pointed at him. "You took Morgan's place so you could search the cave?" "Exactly, my boy," Garrick said. "I used a spell to make myself look like Morgan, to fool any visiting villagers. Then I searched for the map chamber." "And when you found it, the map led you to Bellador," Rory guessed. "Indeed, but he trapped me in a crystal before I could use my red dragonstone on him," Garrick said, shaking his fist at Bellador. "Bellador trapped me, too, when I went looking for my cousin," Griffith said. His fingertips sparked with magic. "Garrick, tell me what you have done with Morgan." Garrick laughed. "I'll tell you if you release me." Then Worm spoke to Drake. "I have been searching the grotto with my mind for a sign of life," he said. "I think I have located Morgan." "We need to go back to the grotto," Drake cried. "Worm says Morgan may be inside." Chapter 14. Found. Drake ran toward the cave entrance. Boom! Garrick used the spell to burst through Griffith's magical bubble. Drake spun around. "Worm!" he began to give a command, but before he could finish, a beam of crystal energy shot from Bellador's mouth. A crystal formed around Garrick, trapping the wizard once again. "Bellador, you sure do think fast," cheered Flu. Rory nodded to Drake and the others. "Go find Morgan. Vulcan and I will stay here and keep an eye on Garrick." "Excellent plan," Griffith agreed. Drake, Worm, Fleur, Bellador, and Griffith returned to the grotto. Worm says he could sense Morgan, so we'll let him lead the way, Drake explained. Worm slowly crawled through the large grotto. He snaked around turns until he arrived in an area where the sun didn't reach. Then he stopped. In a far hidden corner, a large red bubble hovered above the ground. Morgan! Griffith yelled, rushing forward. He aimed both hands at the bubble. Magic streamed from his fingertips. The red bubble burst. The wizard who had been trapped inside dropped to the ground. He had a white curly beard and wore yellow robes. Cousin? Morgan said weakly. Griffith hugged him. Yes, do not fear. Garrick is captured. You are safe. Morgan sat up and blinked. Is that an earth dragon? And a crystal dragon? There is much to tell you, Griffith said. Let us get you to your hut. They made their way back through the grotto. Bellador stopped in front of the map chamber. Fleur touched Bellador's neck. I suppose this is where our story ends, Bellador. I'm guessing you have to stay here in the Crystal Cave, he said. But I'd like to come visit you once if somebody will bring me. Or maybe we'll see each other again in our dreams. Bellador stared at Fleur for a moment. Then the dragon turned. Light shone from his eyes, hitting the grotto wall. The wall trembled. A green crystal began to grow from the wall. Fleur's eyes widened. Drake gasped. That crystal looks like a dragonstone. Chapter 15. What's next? Fleur, break that crystal off the wall, Griffith instructed. Fleur snapped off the green crystal at its base. He stared at it in wonder. I think Bellador has chosen you to be his dragon master, Drake said. Fleur clasped the crystal in his hand. Drake could see the soft green glow of the stone through Fleur's finger. I can hear Bellador inside my head, he said. He does want me to be his dragon master. Wonderful, Griffith said. Let's take care of Morgan. Then we'll talk. Soon they all gathered outside Morgan's hut. Griffith's cousin was wrapped in a blanket. I feel a bit weak, but I will be okay, Morgan assured them. Griffith used magic to produce a table topped with small round cakes and a pot of tea. He talked while everyone snacked. Fleur, if your family allows, you should stay here, Griffith began. Morgan can train you to work with Bellador. I would like that a lot, Fleur said. The dragonstone in his hand glowed. He smiled. And so would Bellador. I'm happy to help guarding the cave, Morgan said. I will use magic to add a ramp to my hut and a big room for Fleur. And Bellador can tell us if he would like to remain a secret or not. Morgan pointed at Fleur's dragonstone. But first, you need a proper cord for your stone, he said. Purple magic sparked from his fingertips and hit the stone. A cord appeared. Fleur slipped it over his head, smiling. After tea, I will send a message to Gianna, the head wizard. She can send help to bring Garrick to Wizards' Council prison, and Fleur and I can go to the village with the news of what has happened, Griffith added. Drake and Rory, you may return to Bracken. Rory's green eyes sparkled. Yes, we need to tell everyone that we found you, Griffith, she said. Bo, Anna, and Eiko have all been worried. Bellador touched noses with Worm and Vulcan. Drake shook Fleur's hand. Thank you for all your help, Fleur, he said. We wouldn't have found Griffith without you. Thank you for helping me become a dragon master, Fleur replied. I can't wait to share this new story with my father. I'm glad that, after all those twists, our story has a happy ending. After they all said their goodbyes, Worm transported Drake, Rory, and Vulcan to Bracken. Eagle, Bo, and Anna ran toward them when they appeared in the training room. "We found Griffith. He's safe and will be home soon," Rory announced. "Excellent," Eagle said. "You must tell us all the details. But first, Drake, I have an urgent message for you and Bo from the head wizard." "That sounds important," Bo remarked. "I think it is," Eagle replied. "Gianna needs to see you. She wants to send you to a land called Gothica. She says your dragons have the perfect powers for a special mission." "Shu and I are ready to go," Bo said. Drake looked at Worm. "Are you ready for another adventure?" Worm smiled. "I am always ready for another adventure with you, Drake." The end.